Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank our keynote speaker who spoke before to kind of give us a lot of energy for a lot of food for thought. Welcome to the panel on crafting regulatory frameworks for equitable and responsible health in AI. I welcome everyone, and I'm Danish Nathani. I'm a PhD researcher at the University of Antwerp, and I'll be moderating this session. Today's session is quite critical because artificial intelligence is transforming healthcare delivery worldwide. And a very famous person, for example, Lawrence Lessig once said that code is law today. And this is becoming more and more true because of the governance frameworks which are coming around on algorithms. While AI is offering tremendous opportunities to improve health outcomes, it also represents unique challenges related to equity, safety, and responsible implementation. And as the previous speaker shared, that we have a lot of terminologies and semantics, but we should not try and get lost in them. That's why regulatory frameworks are essential, not as barriers to innovation, but enablers of trust and equity. The present panel is being organized by the Department of Digital Health and Innovation, Science Division of the World Health Organization, and attempts to bring together experts who are actively framing and shaping how we approach AI governance in healthcare across different regions and contexts. I'm honored to introduce our distinguished panelists who bring together diverse expertise from regulatory bodies, academia, and international organizations. I would first like to introduce Dr. Shada Alsama, who is an associate professor of global digital health at King Saud University, and who serves as a technical officer for digital health and AI at the World Health Organization. She is a principal investigator at the Artificial Intelligence Center at Al Azhar University and serves on multiple international boards, including the OECD Blockchain Expert Policy Advisory and the International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. Dr. Alsama will provide insights on WHO's approach to building global competence in health AI regulation. Next, I would like to introduce Mrs. Paula, who is a lawyer specializing in technology, AI, and digital health, with postgraduate degrees in digital health and artificial intelligence and law from universities of Buenos Aires in Argentina. She's a researcher for WHO, the Pan American Health Organization, and the Latin American Center for Artificial Intelligence and Health. Today, Paula will focus on Latin American developments in AI health regulation with particular emphasis on Brazil and Peru. Next on my long introduction list is Dr. Abdul Malik, who is a pharmaceutical evaluator at the Saudi Food and Drug Authority, where he leads initiatives on integrating AI into regulatory processes. As AI team lead in the drug sector, he has helped shape authorities' AI strategy through knowledge building and regulatory policy review. Today, Dr. Abdul Malik will address why regulation matters for AI in health and will share insights on the current regulatory landscape in Saudi Arabia. He also serves as a co-lead for WHO's Working Group 3 on training and knowledge tools. Last but not the least is Ms. Fulvia Raffaelli, who joined the European Commission in 2002. And since September 2022, she has been working at the Directorate General for Health and Food Safety, DG Santi, where she serves as head of the Digital Health Unit. Today, she will provide her insights on the European Union's approach on AI regulation in healthcare. Before we move further, just want to provide a brief overview of what we're going to do in this panel today. First, I would request Dr. Alsama to provide a brief introduction and overview of WHO's work in AI regulation and the work of the working group on regulatory considerations. Then we'll hear presentations from our wonderful panelists. Following the presentations, we'll engage in a moderated discussion, which will involve me asking questions from all the panelists and trying to understand what are the basic principles that member states are thinking about. And then finally, we'll open the door for audience questions. I would request Dr. Shada to kindly introduce the work of the WHO on the working group considerations. Dr. Shada, I am here if you want me to press next on the slides. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danish. I appreciate it, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that you had lunch, and it's time to discuss some global challenges, opportunities on the topic of regulation of AI for health. And thank you very much for the organizers for giving us the chance to chair this panel, very important panel that will help convene the experts and discuss very important topics for the audience. And apologies for not being able to attend in person. I wish that was the case. Today I would like to stress on the regulatory readiness and the WHO role in building a toolkit and frameworks for evaluating AI in health. And this definitely supports the One Health theme that we're discussing today. Now, next please, Danish. Now, maybe today we're not discussing, in this context, I'm not trying to convince you or talk about how AI is actually being involved or influencing the decisions in medicine. But I just want to acknowledge and highlight the research on AI applied to global health, which is really accelerating given the budget from different countries and governments. Next, please, Danish. And I also would like to acknowledge the use cases in global health, that is in public health, whether in public health setting or for individual health or for health systems in general or pharma or medtech. These are all elements or topics that are very relevant to the use of AI, and AI is definitely influencing it. Next, please, Danish. We also would like to acknowledge the complexity and capabilities of the emerging models of AI and the ability to outperform in a lot of tasks in relation to the performance of healthcare professionals. And so we definitely acknowledge all of that. And I would like to, in the next slide, please, Danish, I would like to stop at the severe public health and clinical risks associated with the use and deployment of AI and the need for regulation. Next slide, please, Danish. And we, as WHO, recognize the need for regulating AI specifically for health, given the call and the discussions around regulation and the call for WHO to actually step in to provide regulation at the global collective coordinated effort. And this is why we're chairing this panel, to bring that to the audience and make sure that we listen to also what the efforts done in the region. Next, please, Danish. We definitely acknowledge also and recognize the government's efforts in actually developing acts and laws and regulations and legislations, whether in Europe or in the USA, given that the new administration has a completely different opinion, but we definitely recognize the government's efforts into making sure that AI is regulated. Next, please, Danish. We also echo the United Secretary General efforts and call for global coordinated artificial intelligence governance and the belief that it is the only way forward in order to harness AI for humanity while addressing the risks that are associated and given the efforts that the UN actually putting in place. Next, please. Having all of that in mind, at the World Health Organization in particular, we developed a global strategy on digital health back in 2020, keeping in mind that governance is one of the strategic objectives that we try to support member states with, to strengthen the governance for digital health at the global, regional, and national levels. And we've done a lot of efforts starting from 2018, when the digital Department of Digital Health and Innovation was established based on member states' request. Next, please, Danish. Last year, there was one of its kind strategic roundtable on a particular technology, which is artificial intelligence, which never has been the case in the World Health Organization, World Health Assembly meetings. And in that meeting, we definitely brought experts and representation from the different regions to discuss the opportunities and challenges of artificial intelligence on the ground, and to discuss the crucial risks and a need for addressing risks and ethical considerations associated with the use of artificial intelligence for health. And definitely the member states recognize and support the role of the Global Initiative on Artificial Intelligence for Health, which is the result of or the effort coming from the World Health Organization to address and bridge that gap. And regulation is at the core of the work of the Global Initiative. They also stress on the crucial need for standard settings by developing technical benchmarking and validation methods and governance frameworks that can help safeguard and make sure AI is responsible and regulated. They also stressed on the urgent need for trust and transparency among all member states in the world in order to ensure that AI tools meet quality, safety, and ethical standards. Last but not least, they stressed on the need for bridging knowledge gaps, and these are the core of the work streams that are presented in today's and the discussion of today's panel, making sure that we share, we discuss how we can share knowledge around AI for health among all stakeholders, including policymakers, regulators, patients, and practitioners, which is very fundamental, and it's important to empower those users for effective AI. Next, please, Danish. And so starting 2018, we started establishing a focus group between ITU, which is the UN agency for telecommunication, and WHO, which is the specialized agency of the UN in health, to explore what AI has to offer, the opportunities, the risks, and the aim is to benchmark framework, to develop a benchmarking framework for international policies and standards. And we definitely developed some guidance as part of that working group. And the effort and the team and the experts that we convened during that time has migrated into a joint UN global initiative that brings not only ITU and WHO, it also brings the World Intellectual Property Organization, since we're heavily involving private sector, making sure that we maintain or address IP issues in that initiative. And it was established in 2023. Next, Danish, please. We had three pillars focused in that global initiative to help enable AI for health, facilitate AI for health, and implement AI for health on the ground at the local, member, state, and country level. For the enabling part, we make sure that we're all on the same page. We develop standards, policies, and guidance that is evidence-based to help countries and governments understand what's recommended in different topics, including regulation. For facilitation, we'll convene and bring them together, and this panel is part of the facilitation pillar that we aim to bring all the different stakeholders and have conversations, discussions to shape the future of the implementation on the ground, and the toolkit is part of the implementation that we want to deliver. Next, please. As part of the work done under the focus group and now the global initiative, we developed many guidelines, guidance around ethics and governance, around generating evidence for AI, around LLMs and LMMs as well, and in technical areas like sexual and reproductive health and rights, and the implementation of deployment of AI in that. Also for AI in traditional and complementary medicine and pharmaceuticals and development of pharmaceuticals and drug development. And we also developed online courses to support in that. And one of the very important topics and the core work of the global initiative and enabling pillar is the regulatory considerations, which is going to be the focus of the remainder of my presentation. Next, please, Danish. So the regulatory considerations in AI guidance was the effort started in 2018, and we launched the guidance in 20. Back in 2023, where we actually highlight the gaps and the issues. If you go to the next slide, Danish, please, I can present, what it aimed for and who it tries to serve. It's a comprehensive scope of the different aspects, bringing all stakeholders, including researchers and developers, regulators, policymakers, to bridge the gap between them mainly, and also the indirectly the healthcare workers and patients and manufacturers involved in medical devices that incorporates AI as a main component. We provide, as part of that guidance, 18 different recommendations across 6 different topic areas that should be adaptable and dynamic, that can help governments and policymakers and regulators to adopt, and also developers to consider during the development of their medical devices and AI models. And also it is meant to be global alignment with collaboration, where we try to bridge the global gap. Next, please, Danish. The 18 different recommendations were around documentation and transparency, risk management and artificial intelligence system development lifecycle approaches, analytical and clinical validation, as well as data quality, engagement and collaboration, which was a very important topic, bringing the global, convening the global communities of practice on board, and also privacy and data protection was a very important topic of discussion in this guidance. Next, please. As a continuity of that work, we're convening 70 different members from all around the world, trying to make sure that we bring experiences from those different regions to build a toolkit that can help countries and member states in the implementation of AI models from the lab to the ground at a country level. Next, please, Danish. As part of the, in order to achieve that goal, we have developed 4 different work streams based on the needs. The first work stream, next please, focuses on a regulatory landscape on AI in health, and Paula will be mentioning, she's involved in that, and she will be discussing more details about that work stream. But it aims to analyze existing and emerging regulations for AI in health, making sure that we incorporate the different efforts around the globe, and we present them to the community. For the next work stream, please, Danish, next slide. It provides a guidance on a template law for AI in health in order to develop suggested legal provisions for AI integration in health, and that helps countries who do not have resources and they don't have laws and regulations to have some resources that can help them develop that and tailor that and adopt it for localization. Next, please, Danish. The third work stream is which Dr. Abdel Malik is actually leading, co-leading on training and knowledge tools on AI and regulation, which really focuses on how we can bridge the knowledge gap and create educational resources in AI and regulatory good practices for the whole community. And last work stream is in the implementation toolkit that brings all of these different efforts and work stream deliverables in order to provide a comprehensive toolkit for AI in health that provides practical guidelines and use cases for AI regulation, and make sure that member states are equipped with the right tool in order to empower them to localize AI models on the ground. And that will help us achieve, hopefully, the collective goal of governing artificial intelligence for health for responsible, unified unity of One Health. And we recognize that AI, this global initiative, should help in that sense. But without globally coordinated AI governance to harness AI definite for humanity, we cannot achieve that. And that's the aim of this particular panel. So I'll hand it over back to you, Danish, to continue with the other presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shada, for that wonderful presentation outlining the role of the WHO and why it is important that we are considering a vision for a global consensus on governance approaches in concerning AI in health. I would now like to call upon Ms. Paula for her presentation regarding the approaches taken by Latin American countries concerning AI in health. Thank you so much.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm deeply honored to be part of this panel, truly. I'm going to talk about a little bit what is going on around the world in some legal AI regulations, but I will focus on Latin America because where I come from, I'm from Argentina, and you can ask all the questions you want after when it's the time to talk about all of this. But now we are going to start our journey around the world. So the presentation. Okay. I would like you to look at this map before we start talking about countries. I think this is really important because it represents the different legal families. You can see most of the world is painted in blue. It's about civil law or common law, civil law, and it's based on codes and European systems. You can see Latin America, it's almost all blue. So you will understand why we follow so much the laws and regulations that Europe are implementing. I think, well, in red, you can see common law. For example, United States, it's a law based on precedents more than land codes. And you can see in yellow that it's Islamic law or fiqh. But this map really matters because it helps us explain why some countries are following, you know, when we talk about Brussels effect, it's not only marketing or market. It's also about referring the influences of our inheritance, and it helps us to make choices in a better way to understand what is going on around us. Now we are going to start. This is some influences of the European AI Act around Latin America. Most of them you will see it when I talk about some laws. Most of all, the regulatory agencies, we are all thinking about that. We haven't implemented already, but at least it's an idea. We are going to start with Brazil. Brazil has an AI bill that it was approved by the Senate and is still running through the legislative process. It's not, today it's not a law. Brazil's law focuses on accountability, transparency, and non-discrimination principles. It tries to establish civil liability rules and foresees the creation of national authority, like I mentioned. And most of all, is trying to protect fundamental rights, democracy, and public safety. You can see here also. Now we are going to see Peru. Peru is the only country in Latin America that already has an AI law and a regulated law, not also the law, but the regulation. You know, El Salvador on March this year already made an AI law, but it's not regulated yet, but it's moving forward. But this is the only country in Latin America with an AI law. And it is aligned with the country's digital transformation that Peru is going into process, and it prioritizes the respect for human rights and the promotion of ethical, safe, and responsible AI. It also talks about a national authority on AI. Here you can see more about Peru. But now that we saw some regulatory progress in Latin America, it is important to take a step back and consider a broader picture. we are talking about now about the Latin American AI Index, which looks beyond regulation to measure each country's readiness in areas like infrastructure, data governance, innovation, and human talent. What this index will help us is to understand where is the real state of the country in digital development, not only in AI. And when you see the next slide, you will see that the gap in readiness, it was often said Latin America apart from more developed regions because we don't have already established the infrastructure or data governance. We need to be more digital than we are today. In the next slide, this one, you will see that Peru, despite having a law, ranks mid-table, while Brazil, that's still debating its bill, scores higher in overall preparedness. This has to do with the legal preparedness that the previous panel explained. We need to make a step back and first of all have a strategy, a digital health strategy implemented before we started to think in legal preparedness. This tells us something important. Regulation alone in Latin America is not enough. We must be part of a broader strategy that ensures countries are truly ready to implement AI in practice. And now we are going to make like a little mental exercise. Let's imagine that today we were tasked with implementing an AI system in the public health sector, in Brazil or in Peru. What would we need to know to understand if that's really possible? That question led us to cross-analyze two key tools. One is the Latin American Index, which already discussed here, and the HELT Global Digital Health Monitor, which shows how mature its a digital health country are, how digital health countries are. But looking at both together, make a correlation, we are not just asking who has a law, we are asking who's actually ready to make AI work in real health system for real people. So let's take a look at Brazil. According to the ILIA index, Brazil ranks second in the region. And the HELT Global Digital Health Monitor confirms this readiness. Brazil reaches phase 4 or 5 in most of the areas. You will see here. With advanced infrastructure, strong leadership, and mature digital health system. But I have to make like a disclaimer here. Brazil is a massive country. Argentina is big, but Brazil is massive. And you have many different Brazils into the country, like you have in Argentina. We have really differences into our own countries. We are federal countries, and the regions have better preparedness or worse preparedness. But when we look at both indices together, the message is clear. Brazil has the key conditions in place to move forward with real-world AI application in health. In fact, it would be an ideal candidate to launch a regulatory sandbox with supervision and clear rules before scaling. Now we are going to see Peru. According to the ILIA index, Peru ranks in the middle of the region. It performs well in areas like government, AI adoption, and risk mitigation, but shows lower scores in connectivity, research, and innovation. You know, connectivity is a real issue in our regions. Where I saw the map of the connectivity of Europe and the United States, and it's like everything is on fire. Everything is connected. And when you see that maps in Latin America, you will see blanks, a lot of gaps. For example, Argentina, in the south of Argentina, you will see it only like a desert of connectivity. And I can say it's real because I live there. So while the country already has a national AI law in place, Peru, I mean, these limitations in the broader ecosystem could make effective implementation, especially in the health sector, more difficult. In conclusion, what this comparison wanted to represent between Brazil and Peru reveals a key insight. In Latin America, where structural and institutional gaps persist, real readiness to implement AI, particularly in health, depends on aligning legal progress with digital maturity. It's like we have like the pyramid of Maslow of necessities, and we are on the bottom of the pyramid, and Europe are our steps upper than us. That's what I wanted to show you by combining the ILIA and the GDHM monitor, because these are more than data. It gives us a more realistic way to assess whether a country is truly prepared to turn regulation into action, not just to talk about, or maybe it's not a football game who has the AI regulation. In my continent, it appeared to be who is doing it. What are we doing? Are we following Europe? Are we not? Okay. As you can see here, this table compares the rights guaranteed by AI laws in Brazil and in Peru. Brazil explicitly includes rights like explanation, human review, and the ability to contest AI decisions. Peru proposal recognizes several of these as well, but in a more indirect way. Interestingly, Peru adds rights not covered in Brazil's law, such as internet access, showing different national priorities in AI governance. You know, internet access, it must be a right in my continent because it should be respected. Without connectivity, we won't have anything. Now, let's see what's going on in other countries. In early 2024, there was a strong momentum across Latin America to advance AI legislation. Several countries introduced bills, and expectations were really high. But recently, that momentum has slowed. Global shifts like the reversal of the US executive order on AI and domestic challenges, we struggle a lot with domestic challenges, as you know, have led to a greater caution in the region. Many countries, as you can see, especially in Central America and the Caribbean, the small Antilles do not have even, they are just starting to have data protections law. That's how we look like now. So they don't have yet developed any specific AI regulations. The uneven landscape brings more important risk from us. No? Inequality in access to medical innovation, dependence on foreign frameworks, limiting local adaptation, and missed opportunities for innovation and competitiveness. But I want to tell you that the question is no longer where we will use AI in health, but how we will do it with fairness, with clarity of purpose, and with a deep understanding of the realities of Latin America. Now we are going to talk about a little bit about Africa. This continent is also moving forward in the field of artificial intelligence, facing many of the same challenges we see in Latin America. So you can link Latin America with Africa in some parts. So, for example, infrastructure gaps, talent development, and the need for inclusive governance. This slide shows the Africa Declaration of Artificial Intelligence signed very recently on the 4th of April, 2025. The declaration promotes ethical, inclusive, and sovereign approach to AI with goals like strengthening local capacity, creating an Africa AI Fund, and establishing an Africa AI Council. It also emphasizes key commitments like AI in education, and that's an issue. AI in education, in my humble point of view, is the key of all doors we need to open about AI. They committed with regional infrastructure and Africa First approach to AI development and procurement. Those are the countries that endorse the Africa Declaration. You can see that the commitment spans nearly the entire continent. Okay. Now let's take a look at how recent changes in US policy have sent shockwaves through the global conversation on AI regulation. In early 2025, the new US administration reversed the federal executive order on AI, which had focused on safety and ethics. It was replaced with a new directive that promotes deregulation and innovation. And here we have an issue. Some people are confusing deregulation with bureaucracy. Those are really different concepts. Regulate is not to be burden the countries with more legal structure. Is to try to assess ethical issues. As a result, federal action slowed down and the responsibility for regulation shifted to individual states. This created a fragmented legal landscape with over 700 AI-related bills introduced across the country, the United States, in 2024 alone, including states of Ohio, Colorado, and Utah. The US pivot has not only disrupted its own regulatory trajectory, but has also reshaped the global debate. Okay. Now we'll see what Asia is doing. Let's take a quick look at what's happening in Asia, because the region offers some really different models. China, for example, has taken a very centralized and prescriptive approach. Everything is tightly regulated with a strong focus on national security and state control. Japan, on the other hand, is going in a different direction. It's using soft law and encouraging innovation while still aligning with international principles like those of the OECD. South Korea is moving fast too. They propose a national AI framework that is expected to be passed soon, and they are putting a lot of emphasis on ethics, transparency, and the international cooperation. And then there is Singapore, often seen as a leader in soft law. They built a governance model that's flexible, modular, and internationally recognized, especially for things like explainability and the human-in-the-loop design. Asia reminds us that there is no one-size-fits-all model, but rather a spectrum of regulatory approaches shaped by local governance and culture. This is how the world looks today in terms of AI regulation. It is scattered, uneven, but undeniably in motion. Some countries are racing ahead, others are still finding their footing. But no matter where we are on the map, one thing is clear: the age of artificial intelligence is already here. The real question is how we choose to shape it, because AI is not just a technical challenge, it's a societal one. It touches our rights, our health, our economies, our futures. That's why this moment really matters. It's not only about passing laws, but it's about building trust, protecting people, and designing a future that reflects who we are and what we value. In every line of a code and every draft of legislation, we are planting the seeds of the world our children will inherit. So as this map reminds us of how far we have come, let it also remind us of the responsibility we share to move forward wisely and together. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation, Paula. And I hope that a lot of people, we have learned a lot from you regarding the developments in Latin America and other countries also. My presentation will focus on what South Asian countries like India, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Nepal and Maldives are doing in the area of health and AI. Yep, and the pictures which you will see in my presentation are all been taken with the help of, I don't want to call, with the AI generated images. That's one disclosure that I wanted to give you. So I want to start my presentation with a very important conversation that we've been having since the morning. The first panel talked about vulnerabilities. It also included conversations about vulnerable populations, minority communities, vulnerable ideas. There was a question that was raised in the morning about how technology is leading to diverse outcomes. Are we seeing a new technological race for AI tools? Are we seeing a new kind of inequality rising between countries, depending upon who is controlling technology today? The recent example being the ChatGPT was OpenAI was DeepSeek controversy. And I also want to point out to the keynote address that Dr. Carlos made, where he touched upon the idea that sometimes we are too deep in semantics about when we think about AI. And my presentation will talk about the South Asian perspective on all these issues. Sorry. This wonderful map tells us that there is definitely a global north, global south divide. And the same divide has also come in AI adoption, because the same divide is relevant also in how internet friendly and how internet ready global south countries are. And that is a very important building block, because internet penetration will lead to outcomes regarding technology. So we see that 60.3% of the global south countries do not have or are not thinking about regulating AI at all. This is also similar in Pacific island countries. This is also similar in Central American countries. And my presentation wants to talk to you about what are the core themes that global South Asian countries are thinking about when they think about AI, and specifically AI in health. So I talked to you about that 60.3, I'm not able to read, 60.3% of the global South countries do not think about AI, they lack any AI framework. South Asian voice is important because the majority of population of the world resides there. There's a regional challenge, and my question is to everyone that how are South Asian approaches, or what are the South Asian approaches, and how are they navigating the interplay between technological advancement, healthcare access, ethical considerations, and development imperatives. Because the last panel talked about the pandemic treaty, and the pandemic treaty, even though it was drafted, it was one of the quickest drafted agreements that we have seen. It took 3 years. So my focus is going to be on that. This is a policy landscape that you will see that we don't have any specific laws, but we have what we can see guidelines and papers and missions and ideas about what AI adoption is going to look like. There is a word which has been very used quite often, and specifically very often in the EU AI Act, trust. India's governance framework also talks about, we want to create safe and trustworthy, trust-based frameworks. But what does trust actually mean in the context of AI in health? Does it really mean that people who are not aware about what AI will do with them, are they aware about what implications AI medical devices will have? These are the kind of things that we should start thinking about when we think about AI in health, that what do we really think about trust? For building trust in governance mechanism, we need to understand what does distrust mean. For example, why are people not ready to adopt it? Is there again an area where people are not aware about AI? And that's a very important conversation in global South Asian countries, because people are not, we are not aware about the implications of using AI in our healthcare objectives. Now I want to shift towards, we saw that, the governance mechanisms, there are a lot of policy documents that we have seen around. And I don't want to bore you by taking through the provisions, but I want to highlight 3 important things. I will first talk about very quickly, I see my time is running out. I will talk about the common themes. I will talk about the similarities, what are there in the approaches, and I will talk about what are the dissimilarities, the differences. First important thing in the common themes is, what are the key, what do we see are the key enablers, and what are the key important things about what global South Asian countries, for example, India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, Pakistan, Bangladesh are thinking about AI. First important thing is that they all stress that we need skill development. We need a workforce which knows how to use AI. We need workforce which knows how to deploy AI. Secondly, they all agree that there has to be a very comprehensive data strategy. If you're going to think about incorporating health-enabled AI devices in, for example, public sector, for example, you are in a primary healthcare organization or primary healthcare institution, which is very local, then how will you teach the primary healthcare worker to use AI-enabled devices to do public healthcare to carry out public healthcare initiatives? And what data strategy mechanism should be there? And at this point, I want to highlight what Bhutan has done. For example, if you see Bhutan has launched a very interesting guideline called the AI in Civil Services Guidelines, where they have realized that, okay, the civil servants are using AI, ChatGPT or other AI to answer questions relating to policy documents and policy-related measures in Bhutan. So now they are giving guidance on how civil servants should be using or not using AI in specific situations. And this kind of guidance is very helpful. And as was rightly mentioned in the previous session, that sometimes soft law approaches are more important than hard law approaches. If you can tell your civil servants who are incorporating policy at the ground level on this is the manner in which you can incorporate AI solutions, that will be more helpful. The third thing is, so I talked about skills, I talked about data strategy, and now I'll talk about research and development. How you want to use data and how you want to use AI algorithms in further research and development. Further research and development in what? For a lot of countries, further research and development in medicines, for example. Not high level, for example, non-gene editing technologies, but on simple generics or on simple technologies which you can, diagnostic method patents, for example. The fourth important idea is public awareness. Because there is low internet adoption, you need to create awareness amongst public about what AI can do, what are the outcomes. You need to teach about healthcare professionals also about, okay, if you use this kind of AI technology with your patients, this might happen. So awareness needs to be there. And of course, the final is digital. This ties in with the idea of digital literacy. Then I will talk, I also want to touch on, so I talked about key enablers. Now I will focus on governance, ethics, and responsible AI. All of the strategies all of the policy documents that these countries have, they all talk about different governance approaches, which I will get to in a minute, and the slide is on the screen. They talk about an ethical AI framework. They talk about responsible AI framework. And this is where India talks about trusted AI. They are looking at an AI which can create trust amongst public. And how do you create trust? India's governance framework says, okay, if you have transparent AI governance frameworks, if you have explainable governance frameworks, that will lead to more trust. The third important idea that all the governance mechanisms, the soft policy document talk about is risk identification and mitigation. They all agree that there are risks associated with implementing AI solutions in health. Then what do you do with that? You mitigate. You cannot remove all risks, but you can definitely mitigate. Lastly, what are the key sectors that they look into? They all agree that, okay, AI can be used in healthcare, of course, agriculture, education, public service. Public service is one of the most important areas because with countries with huge populations, for example, in India, where I am from, you have a federal system and you rely on public service, civil servants, you rely on civil servants heavily to implement the public policy. Now I want to talk about what are the different governance approaches that the countries are taking. There are basically two types of governance frameworks. And why is this important? Why am I stressing this upon? Again, because of two things. One, you want to create trust in AI deployment. How will you create trust in the AI deployment? When the public at large can see that these are these stakeholder bodies, these are these government policy bodies which are actively working in the field or which are actively creating awareness. And even if the global South Asian, South Asia is quite a condensed area, you can see in one map how they look. But they all have different governance approaches. They're all taking different governance approaches, even though they have federal systems, centralized systems. For example, India is taking an approach where they are talking about that they want to create an AI governance subcommittee and have an interministerial coordination. This is tying in with the idea of silos that we had in the keynote address, that you have different, and India works in a very, we have ministries for everything. So to create an enabling regulatory framework, you need different silos to interact with each other. And specifically health is, if you're talking about One Health approach, is covering all ministries. So India is talking about a AI governance committee. Sri Lanka is talking about a national AI center. Nepal is talking about a nodal agency. Sri Lanka is a much more democratic process where you have government, industry, and academia. Bangladesh is a cross-sectoral coordination mechanism they are holding. And Pakistan is doing its own thing where they want to set up an AI directorate. Now I'm sorry, the text is a little bit small. Now, the last portion of my slide will talk to you quickly about what are the different AI approaches different governments doing in AI in healthcare specifically. So Bangladesh has a very interesting, in their AI guidance, they have listed out there. So Bangladesh's vision is quite clear as to how they see deployment of AI in healthcare. One, they talk about a dedicated healthcare and well-being section in their national policy, sorry. Then they talk about a AI-based medical diagnostics, enhanced telemedicine services. The most important for me, I think, is fraud detection in healthcare billing and insurance. And why this is really fundamental, because countries, for example, country like India and Bangladesh, we spend a lot of money and resources in ensuring public health outcomes through schemes, through direct benefit transfers. And sometimes when you give, for example, you will produce a bill, a hospital medical bill, and that medical bill is not genuine or authentic, that can lead to leakage of public resources. So so the thought here behind, and this is very important because it's linking both finance and healthcare in one area. And this is again leading into the important point about data strategy, that you need authentic data sources. So this is Bangladesh's approach. India's approach is, India has already developed an ethics guideline for AI and biomedical research, because India has a very important biopharma drug industry, and India is the bowl of generics. And we've also recommended assessment under sectoral laws and regulations, because India's healthcare framework, and this is something which I want to stress on, each country, each South Asian country has multitude sets of laws relating to health. They will have one law relating to drugs. They will have one law relating to public health and sanitation. because it's a common law country, then they will have a host of other regulations regarding veterinary or other kind of health-related initiatives, and then you have another kind of regulations for health professionals. So what India is thinking that we want to regulate AI through sectoral laws. And then Bangladesh categorically recognizes that healthcare in AI is going to be a high-risk measure. So they are thinking about, in their civil services guideline, they are saying that whatever relating to health, we will have a categorization very similar to the EU AI Act. Then we have Sri Lanka and Nepal. And Nepal and Sri Lanka are very similar, where they see important opportunities for healthcare AI and AI in health. I already talked about this, just to kind of summarize that there are different kind of principles across countries. For example, even a major important thing about data is that a lot of the South Asian countries do not have data privacy laws as of now. So, but they are still committed to principles like privacy by design in their AI guidelines. I also talked about this, that the most important theme is regarding upskilling, data literacy, specialized expertise development. They also want to, for example, I was just reading very recently that I think it was Vietnam or some other Southeast Asian country, which actively included incentives to bring back people to bring back health experts so that they can actually contribute to training and skilling. So the countries are taking very important, interesting measures to kind of bring back talent from outside to their own country. And I already talked about the governance approaches. What I see as a very important mechanism, and this is a path forward, that yes, we are talking about a global governance approach, but there also needs to be about considering that language and culture is such an important issue when we talk about data and training of data and bias and explainability. All these three things are important when you think about culture. And for example, India is looking into creating specific mechanisms where cultural identity and cultural bias can be mitigated. This kind of approach is very important for other South Asian countries also. So I see a very important area where all the South Asian countries can kind of work together. So the conclusion basically is that even though there are distinctive approaches in each South Asian country with regarding to governance, but all the South Asian countries have a very important goal in collaborating with each other because of the similarity in culture and identity. So that was my presentation, and thank you so much. I would like to now call Dr. Abdul for his presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, thanks, Danish, for the kindness interview about me. Thanks for organizer for the invitation and for the warm welcoming. I've been working with the Saudi Food and Drug Authority almost now 12 to 13 years in the field of pharmaceutic. I've been working there. Then I spent some time for the last 4 years on the AI sections. I know we are traveling a lot right now. We travel with Paula from Brazil, back to India, then to Africa. Some of you may tired. Also, 1 hour after lunch, some of you are sleepy. So I'll try to make some joke with you. So try to laugh with me, even if you don't like my joke. So the first question is, in my presentation, we'll go some introduction, what's going on in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is 7-hour flight if you want to visit us. and you are welcome there. Then we will go through my presentation for the action plan that we have done with the SFDA and some achievement that we achieved there. And to start my presentation, I would love to start with the question, why should the SFDA get involved in the field of AI? As you all know and recognize that the AI is integrated in everyday perspective, and a lot of fields are affected with the AI, and the significance of these changes impact different fields. In drug sectors, in SFDA, we have three sectors. One is the drug sectors, the other one is the medical device sectors. In the medical device sectors, we have some guidelines and regulation that regulate the integration of the AI there. The regulation there is rigid enough and with good quality to regulate an AI, but it needs improvement. But in the pharmaceutical, where I focus there, we have so many gaps there. So in pharmaceutical, AI has been integrated in different stages in the life cycle of medication, from drug discovery and to the post-market stage. So there is so many examples in drug discoveries, non-clinical research, clinical researches, and in the post-marketing for surveilling and following the side notes of some diseases. And this is statistical data shown by FDA the last year, where they can show there is more than 300 submission of AI components. As the schedule illustrates, you can see the number of the products that been using AI component in somehow in some stage, and the number has been growth in pharmaceutical. So therefore, our also, in the other hand, the SFDA also streamline the regulatory, we will focus also on streamline the regulatory process and to use the AI in enhancing productivity and the outcome. That will achieve the agent strategies and goals to improve the public health outcome and customer satisfaction. We've been working to create an AI models to help the process of registrations. There is also one AI models under the process of approval, which called SAGR, and this is an AI agent that can help to study the CMC of the drug master files and drug control, manufacturing, and the chemistry compound, and it's capable to detect and make a decision. So our vision is to create a skilled team with scientific reference in AI integration, empowering the drug sector with the comprehensive AI knowledge, and establishing clear guidance for regulatory AI integration. And we try also to harmonize with the global and staying update with the last advance in AI intervention. So our team objective and action plan were focused on 6 pillars. We focus on the scientific knowledge, and in the scientific knowledge, actually, we focus on 2 pathways. One is to increase and enhance the scientific knowledge for integration of the AI in the life cycle of medication, as I show in the previous slides. The second focus was to improve the productivity and the outcome of the drug sector and SFDA by letting the people and employees to learn more about the AI, to create new ideas to help us to be unique on using the AI in the regulatory perspective. The second point was, the second pillar was the collaboration. We are targeting collaboration internationally. We have with the regulatory academy industry, and we've been working with the WHO, and we are under the process of approving some MOU with them. Also, we're trying to identify external and internal cooperation, for example, with the FDA academies and some other organization with the governments. The third pillar was regulatory framework and policy. We do benchmark, we analyze what's going on and what gap we have, and we focus on analyzing some the guidelines that's been regulated. The fourth pillar was the AI application and AI models. So we focus in incubator and developer for creative AI ideas. And this is very important to provide resource and support the development and testing of the ideas and to encourage the innovation pathways. And we try also to unify the effort between resources and other organizations, not only the SFDA. The fifth pillar was to strategic achievement and follow up with other organizations, and the sixth one was to follow up the update and news and think that we have different strategies to do that. I'll try to be quick with time, and I will try to focus what's unique there. So to achieve that, we create different plan and task for different pillars. From knowledge analysis, planning, and enhancement. And one of the reasons for knowledge analysis is that we need the regulatory to be a strong background and strong knowledge on AI before we make a regulation or make a decision. And if we look to the background of most of regulation, you found out there is no many background of AI like knowledge. So the lack of this kind of knowledge will affect the making regulation there. So we create a SAIL. SAIL is an SFDA lab, and this is one of our, last month we announced SAIL. SAIL is a SFDA AI lab. What you can find in SAIL is an AI innovation lab, provide enabling environment to accelerate the adoption of the AI solution in regulation application. Also, in the same time, it's a strategic partnership framework, building a bridge with the external entity and specialized company to enhance the technical capability and facilitate a knowledge exchange. Also, collaborative, it's a collaborative platform. So you can develop a POC there, validate them using real-world data, and you can get their feedback from SFDA. You can see what POC can go and how it's going to work with it. So why we create SAIL? SAIL to accelerate innovation, adoption. At the same time, that will faster the POC implementation, boosting the competitivity, and strengthen SFDA local and global leadership. And it also will decrease the cost effectiveness, like reducing the R&D, avoiding influence, and so on. And also enhancing the service quality and operation. And it also building a national capabilities by fostering innovation and cultures, improving SFDA national ranking on using the AI. So what's for you? You can also apply to the SAIL if you have an idea, if you have the ability to create or to solve some POC. We have different use cases that not yet solved. So it's open for everyone to contribute there. It's a regulatory governance collaboration. You can test an AI solution in real-world data, direct feedback from SFDA. Also, you can have a comparative between advantage between other companies and deep understanding for government needs. And strategic partnership networking. You can access to the key government stakeholders, opportunity for long-term collaboration. And that will give you also a good opportunity to do business in Saudi Arabia, because if you do with Saudi SFDA, you can go and do with other organizations also. In addition to that, you can potentially for future scale-up and adoption. increasing investment potential, scale up of your AI solutions. It will also growth the revenue growth, winning new projects and expanding business by applying your POCs. It will also enhance the workforces and development of expertise in your companies, especially when you are trying with the actual data with the governments. That's my time. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul. I think the idea of SAL is great. Dr. Fulvia, can we have you here to share your perspectives? Thank you.
So good afternoon, and thank you, Danish, for inviting me to give you the European perspectives. That's been a very interesting panel we have had from many different countries, many different perspectives, and I'm very happy to be part of that conversation on how we can craft together regulatory frameworks that really build trust and deliver on the promise of AI in health. But before entering into it, let me just ask a question. Why we are today speaking about AI in health? This is not because it's a fancy technology, no, this is a buzzword. This is because if we have a vision in Europe about a public health sectors that do really provide a fair, transparent, reliable support to all our EU citizens and broadly to everybody. That's also, unfortunately, a situation where the healthcare sectors in Europe, but also in very many parts of the world, is facing a lot of challenges, from shortage of workforces, for increasing chronic diseases, from financial sustainability in the medium-long term. And AI, we strongly believe, is a part of the solution. It would help the healthcare sectors to actually face those challenges. And so, from that perspective, we're looking really to the AI from that perspective, from a human, patient, people-centered perspective. And of course, we are facing, and we've heard from my fellow panelists and from the other, how quickly it's going everywhere. The acceleration in AI application, from diagnosis to prediction, from hospital logistics to personalized medicines, is going very, very quickly. Impressive, moving, impressive progress and the accelerations in all the sectors. But actually, speed alone is not necessary progress. And without trust, there is no adoption. Without safety, there is no equity. And without regulation, there is no accountability. And that's why I'm here today to share our experience in the European Union, presenting a bit to you the building blocks, how we're going about that in that area, about actually supporting, yes, because this is what we're doing, supporting the uptaking of AI solution in the healthcare sectors. And not a secret for anybody, we're going for a very for a regulatory approach. But not only with the idea of putting barriers, actually not at all with that idea of putting constraints or border or limits. We are quite the other way around, creating, we believe, an environment which is going to be stable and is going to be representing really a very promising and clear ground to that application, that technologies, those investments, etc., to actually flourish in Europe and in the rest of the world safely, fairly, and at scale. In the last decade, the EU has put forward a set of major instruments, strong legal foundation with the GDPR, which is the General Data Privacy Regulation, the AI Act, which is the horizontal regulatory framework about AI in all different areas, cybersecurity framework dealing with cybersecurity across all digital application, and more specific regulatory approaches such as the European health data space that actually focus on health data. We're also having a forward-looking investment agenda with testing and experimentation facilities, AI factories, and our now upcoming Apply AI strategy, all contributions that we call it contributing to the AI continent vision. Let me now spend a few words on the European health data space, because this is actually already there. It has been published on the official journal of the European Council in the 5th of March, and is now already into force since the end of March. It rests on three main axes. The first is the primary use of health data, empowering the citizens to access and share the health records across borders. The second axis is the certification of the electronic health record systems to create a genuine single market for digital health. And the third is the secondary use of health data, enabling researchers, policymakers, and innovators to access high-quality, pseudonymized data with clear safeguards, under very clear safeguards. Let me say also here, make a reference to the overall objective of the conference today about One Health. This is something which is enshrined into the regulation. It is indeed focusing on health data, but in a very broad sense, in particular for the secondary use of data. We're also looking at the environmental related data and related to health, but also the possibility, very clear set into the original data strategy, that the European health data space is only the first one of a series of other common data spaces that would, through interoperability and interconnection, made available and create the possibility to actually combine data from different sectors, really in keeping in mind the One Health vision. So this is something we are, it's up and running. This is not just the governance initiatives, it's not only soft law, it's not only asking member states to act. This is really a structure enabler, a trusted environment, and when I'm saying digital environment, the fuel responsible, the fuel in the medium long term, responsible AI by making health data usable, secure, and meaningful for care, for research, and innovation. The European health data space actually enables structures access to high-quality, representative data and opens the door to advanced tools like digital twins and cross-border clinical validations, while ensuring compliance, security, and ethical safeguards. As I said, this is now a reality. We're working very closely with the member states, because I think, Paola, you said in Latin America, regulation is not enough. You also need implementation. Can confirm it that this is the case also in Europe. So where regulations are there actually to be implemented. So we are working also very, very closely with the member states to support them and in the implementation of the national part, but also with all the different stakeholders, from the manufacturer of HR systems to the healthcare professionals and patient associations and fora. I'm bringing today to this fora the perspective of a regulator which sees regulation not as a constraint, but as a common language, a way to align innovation with values and sovereignty with openness. We're still learning, and we know one size doesn't fit all, but we believe in setting high standards that empowers people and not only technologies. And this is ultimately why what it defines the European way. So an approach that is human-centric, value-driven, and grounded in trust. So I've been looking and actually listening very, very careful to our discussion. The European Union is open to share its own experiences in all the forum. We have already very close cooperation within the WHO, but also in different fora, international fora, and we'll be more than happy to share our experiences also in that context. We know that we don't have across the globe the same approach to regulatory approaches. We really strongly believe that the regulatory approach is the one that gives and provides the trust and that would actually set up the conditions for innovation that today may be possible, not necessarily in the right way. We want innovation to serve the purposes, to serve the objectives of providing the best treatments and the best care to our citizens, and not to have the AI Act and the AI Act and the technology driven. So this is that's the thinking which is behind the AI Act, where high-risk application, like those used in healthcare, must meet strict and clear requirements, transparency, risk management, human oversight. This is we believe, not hardless, but they are guarantees. They allow companies to innovate in a clear, stable framework with legal certainty, and they help build public trust. We apply the same logic to data, and as I said, with the European health data space, we're not just unlocking the access to health data, but we're making it secure, fair, and governed. So that's what it allows researchers and developers to train robust, representative AI models in a way that respect patients' rights in data protection. And I would say that the European health data space that not only make data usable, but it ensures that the access is not monopolized. More actors, startups, hospitals, public research can work with high-quality represent datasets under the same clear conditions, and not only the few big ones. So we know that a more inclusive ecosystems, the more innovative we unlock, and the better it will be for the future of the healthcare sectors altogether. Beyond the regulation, we are of course investing in what I'd call the environment, the enabling infrastructure, the AI testing and experimentation facilities I mentioned before, and different other elements, including the AI factories and the federated data models. All this support innovation that is compliant and human-centered by design, so that also startups, researchers do not have to choose between moving fast and moving responsibly. Developers can work in compliant, trusted environment from the start. We're here, and I'm very happy to be part of that panel and that conversation, which is a global conversation, and to learn from each other and to look ahead with trust in AI-driven solutions that do really provide the best for our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fulvia. How much time do we have left, if I can ask? Can we have one question that we can discuss amongst ourselves, and then we'll close the session? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the speeches and your fantastic presentations. Shada, are you still online? I just wanted to check. We have a member online as well. Hi, Shada. Are you still online? Yeah.
I am definitely, indeed.
Hi, we are running behind a little bit. So I just have one question to all my panelists, everyone who has shared. I wanted to understand one question that is the core theme of our panel, that how do we see equity, safety, and public trust intersect in the context of AI regulation, and you all can discuss in the context of your fields that you're developing. For example, can we start with you, Shada, and then we'll go to Paula, Dr. Abdul Malik, and then last Fulvia, and then we can close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danish, and thank you very much, panelists, for the great presentations and the global view on regulation. From the World Health Organization, the role that it provides can definitely help convene experts and regions from different regions in order to orchestrate the work around regulation for a collective, coordinated global AI governance. And the main work or role is about convening and coordinating across the 4 work streams, which represent some of the core needs and challenges in that space. That is also represented in the strategic leadership and convening power in order to make sure that it provides a neutral platform for co-development and adaptation of regulation. Tools and laws, and also to provide guidance and technical assistance in order to enforce the responsible AI from the experts' experiences and the challenges reflected from the regions, and also to give an implementation and monitoring frameworks to provide and build those with the experts to support the priorities and key deliverables in each of those main challenges represented in the work streams, and the development of guidelines and benchmarks to help countries track progress for localization. Last but not least is the capacity strengthening and knowledge sharing. It's a very, very important role that can help achieve what you asked for, Danish, in order to ensure that countries have access to training courses and tools, also regulatory sandboxes and pilot implementation through the toolkit, because this at the very end will help ensure coherence across policy domains, while empowering the different member states, given different stakeholders included, the regulators, developers, and all, in order to build a sovereign, safe, and inclusive regulatory ecosystem for AI and health. And I ask everyone who's working in these work streams to reach out to us and ask for the email address, to reach out to us to help us pave the path forward collectively. Thank you very much, and back to you, Danish.
Thank you, Shada. Paula, Abdul, and Fulvia, quickly. Thank you. I've been getting signals. Or you can come here and say it also.
I will be fast with this. Ethics are the main core of everything. And we are seeing in Latin America that we are thinking about this. That's a good news. We are thinking about accountability. We are thinking about non-discrimination and thinking about not being biased about who we are and not embed the algorithm with our own bias. So I think we are on track. We are watching what the world is doing because, like I said before, there are many steps before improve their AI laws much better than my region. But the main core, as I said, is ethics. And we need to think in AI ethics by design. That's all.
Just quick, in addition to building up what they're saying, also I would love to add that we can work together, we can collaborate together, so we can make the AI work for health, not against health. So with cooperation, with effort, unifying the effort together, we can make a world with different perspective and regulation. We can leverage from the AI instead of just talking about regulation. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, I think that collaboration is the key words here. In Europe and in different parts of the world, we've been taking a similar path, very much based on the values as a starting point, and there is a lot to learn from each other. Not only because this is going to help us in getting better regulations or better approaches, but also because this is somehow inevitable. Product based on AI will cross the borders, and because of the reality, and we have a common interest actually to share the values and to drive the development in this direction. This cannot be done alone. This is something that really, really requires open cooperation. And the EU actively engage in international fora, as I said before, with WHO, OECD, G7, and even a number of bilateral dialogues, because we want to encourage alignment where possible and mutual learning where necessary. So we really believe in practical and very pragmatic convergence through common and reference standards, through global testing initiatives, and through shared principle. This is the future of AI. I think we have no choice. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Just want to thank everyone on the panel. And Shada, do you want to give any closing comments before we close the panel?
Thank you very much, Danish. I actually would like to thank all the panelists for the effort, for coming all the way to Brussels to meet with you all and share their experience and knowledge and the work that we do together at the World Health Organization. And thank you, Danish, for moderating this session and the organizers for making this happen. We're very happy and thrilled to have more of you join us in order to move forward with the regulation and do a collective, coordinated, global AI governance. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone. And if anyone has any questions in the break, then thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that very interesting panel. Given that we're a little bit late, we suggested we basically skip the break and get going with the next panel, because I accept people have lives outside of health, ethics, law, and technology, and they probably want to return to them. So we will start the panel in a few moments. So if you need the toilet, of course, go, but please come straight back. Thank you.